Hi everybody, welcome to Sports for All podcast. I'm your host Eden, and today I've got a very exciting guest. So do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm Alfie Harrison, a fellow Geordie. Well, I say fellow, but I am a Geordie lad. Yeah.
Amazing, so good to have you. So do you want to tell us a bit about your sporting journey and kind of where that's kind of led you?
I've always been heavily involved in sport, like all the way through school and out of school. I've always been in them leaders like to be the captain, as you did when you were 8 year old,
Yeah.
fighting over who's the captain. Um, but I was your typical lad. I love football. That's what I grew up playing. That's what I done for. I think I started when I was like 4. And I think I don't play football anymore, and I stopped when I was about 17. So a good 13 years in football,
Wow.
playing at various levels. And then I took the jump over to boxing, which was quite the pivot from football.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I now coach boxing, so I don't do boxing, I coach it, which can be quite difficult, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like that is quite interesting because I've spoken to quite a few people and they've kind of gone the coaching path as well. I know I kind of did as well. I stopped competing and then went down that coaching route. What's that been like for you? How long have you been doing the coaching and what age groups have you done?
So I started, well, it's funny. So I've been heavily involved in like youth clubs and like youth settings from like a very early age. So I was always kind of, because I was like the sporty, and my mum run the youth club. So if anything had to be done, it was like, Alfie, go, will you do it for us?
Yeah.
So from the age of like 13, I was like coaching multi-sports, and some of them were my friends, but I was in and around that environment. I just ended up learning and developing to coach. And I tried little bits of coaching football, kind of 15, 16, but it just never felt the same as playing. So then I moved over to boxing. And I started getting involved with the boxing when I was 16. A funny story, actually. So I didn't actually care about boxing. I didn't actually know really what it was. But my little brother, he was at an age where he was about 10 or 11, and he needed to find a sport. We've always been brought up in like big sporting backgrounds. He tried everything football like we done, and it just never took for him.
Yeah.
We went to a boxing gym just up the road from where we live, and I used to take him up. And then one of the coaches pulled us and said, "Do you want to jump in? And do you want to do a bit of coaching?" Here's Alfie, 16-year-old, doesn't have a clue about boxing. All I know is you punch someone. And now, still going strong 4 years later. It is difficult, mind. I always say I enjoy coaching boxing more than I enjoyed coaching football, but I find it more difficult because
Yeah.
it's quite an individual sport. So you've got to coach the person, and you're not as much as the sport as a whole.
Yeah, it's kind of more tailored to that individual rather than coach a whole team, which obviously brings its own challenges, but there's less focus on just that one person. But no, that's really interesting that you just kind of went along with your brother and then they were like, "Oh, would you like to be a coach?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, why not?"
So I was in the kind of knew of it because like at the age of 13, I tried to do a little bit of boxing, but it never really took off because I wasn't. Everyone asks to do a box, and I say no, and I always say I'm too good looking to box, but it's really because I can't be bothered. Um, and because so basically with us being in a youth setting as well, I kind of was in and around like the boxing setting as well. So my youth club also was the same place as where the boxing club is at.
Oh, right, yeah.
So the coaches knew of us, and some of the people knew us, and then I happened to just go up, and they were like, "Do you want to do some coaching?" And it just kind of just felt right, and I just stuck with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh, I love that. That's so interesting. And then obviously they knew you, so they were like, "Oh yeah, he would be good." And you're not like back
Yeah.
since. Amazing. So I'd love to find obviously I know a little bit about what you do with Youth Voice, but other people won't. So do you want to tell us a bit about your Youth Voice experience, what that's been like and how that's helped you, I guess?
It's all played massive parts, and I think youth voice especially. I've always been in that sort of space where I've always been someone who's happy to speak their mind, and I will speak up, and I will say what I feel, even if it upsets a lot of people, which it does. But you don't get anywhere without upsetting people.
Exactly.
And I've never been involved in like traditional youth voice groups or youth advisory board groups until NCS was the real one. So just before NCS closed down, I applied for the youth advisory board, working closely with Kirsty and Sabrina previously, and they said it's coming out. You should put yourself in there. He has me thinking, nothing of it. This lad from Newcastle, who what's he gonna know? And then I got the job. Unfortunately, got cut short. But them skills I learned, especially from the youth voice perspective, has definitely led into massive right opportunities. So I also currently work for a charity called the Key, and it's a skills development program. And at the Key, we were looking at how can we get more young people to influence decisions within how the Key works. Like we work with we don't directly deliver to young people, but the Key is an organisation that evolves around young people. But we wanted youth voice as embedded in the Key. I was already employed by the Key at the time, and they were taking on their youth advisory board, and they kind of asked if I would be involved, and it was a part of me asking as well, can I be involved? Because it was definitely a career I wanted to look at too, considering the journey that NCS took us on. And then if you look at it as like a whole, as much as like even in the boxing sessions, I'm not advocating for young people as such as I would on a national level, but them skills that I've learned are kind of how I hold myself and look for what's best for the young people is even showed in the boxing and youth sessions as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think like they're all really transferable and like you feel like you're advocating for them in the sense that you want them to do as well as they can in the sport. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's really interesting to hear like you're wanting to get the youth advisory board developed. How's that kind of going? Like, are you like in charge of it?
So me and a colleague called Savi's I kind of had a big passion about getting a youth advisory board within the Key. Savi runs it. I'm only part time with the Key. Like if it wasn't for Savi, it would really struggle. I'm
Yeah.
only part time, so I only work 6 hours a week. So I look after a little bit more of like the actual planning of what we deliver alongside working with Savi and the rest of the team. Me and Savi are a little bit of a double act, you could argue. Like we'll work together and planning it, and then in terms of the actual meetings itself, we kind of bounce off each other. And I'm not someone I'll run the whole session because like Savi's had numerous years in youth background, so it was kind of good for my development to learn and kind of have that experience. So we're kind of just working we deliver aspects that we feel is suited to each other.
Yeah.
So we kind of first launched it back in June last year. Was the first ever. We found a group of 8. It's going well. It was always hard to find our feet in the beginning. It's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever done something. So in terms of from the organisation point of view, it was always hard to find my feet and see how things looked. But in January, start of February, we put out for a new crop. But of the 8, we've got 5 that still are consistent. So we're put out, and we are interviewing people tonight.
Ooh, exciting.
Excited.
By the time this comes out, you'll have a fully new
Yes. So we're
recruits
interviewing.
potentially. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We've kind of got a top number, and we've got a number where we're happy at, but we've shortlisted, and we're going to just see how things go and see how the interviews go. Really.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's really exciting. So you've kind of already talked about skills a little bit, but do you want to tell like everybody a bit more about kind of the skills you've developed through being involved in football, boxing, and also I guess youth voice as well?
Even if I go back, like in school, I was always that kid. I was never great at anything, but I was good at everything, if you get what I mean. I was
Yeah.
never like great at one particular sport, but I was good at the majority of sports. I mean, put us on a dance floor and get us to do gymnastics, and I'm not there, but I can play a wide range of sports. The memory always goes back to when I was in year 6. Um, and as primary schools is, you never really have a set PE teacher. It's normally just a PE
Yeah.
teacher that gets dragged down. And I was quite passionate about leading sport at this time. I had aspirations, and even in year 6, I had aspirations of being a PE teacher. And I said to this one of the teachers, Miss Faye, she was called, sadly passed away.
Oh,
Can I help lead it? And and she said, "Here some resources. We're going to do tennis. You plan the session."
wow.
And even at year 6, with all my friends, I kind of planned and ran that
Wow.
tennis lesson, obviously with support. And I
Yeah.
think even at that age, I wanted to lead and wanted to be in that position. And I think it was that opportunity that I got, even in year 6, I would have been 10 or 11, to have that responsibility and to lead. Then it kind of transitioned into secondary school, and it was still that kind of development. I was always, because I was good at everything, I was always called a little bit of a sweat because I was all right at things. And
Yeah.
kind of, but I was passionate about sport. That was the difference. I was involved and I was really interested in sport. Even when I left school, I was like, I want to be a PE teacher, and that's where I want to go. So then I left school kind of around about the same time I started leaving football. Went to Newcastle College and done sports coaching. It's hard to say like one skill that I've learned because like the big thing I always say is like I just got given an opportunity.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I was missing was like I just wanted an opportunity to just to experience it, and I think I experienced it, and I thought that was it. That's what I want to do. Obviously, the big thing is like communication, like being able to sit at 20-year old online with someone with yourself that we've never met before. This is the first time we've even met, and one of my other roles is like networking within different organizations and stuff, and it's like having that ability and confidence to just speak up. And I think it
Yeah.
stems from kind of having that opportunity right at 10-year old, 11-year old to coach that tennis class. And then it progressed all the way through. So it's quite hard to pinpoint skills, but I think the big thing was that opportunity in the beginning, which helped develop all them like leadership qualities and kind of communication skills from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's so important that you're given that opportunity. And so, what would ha if that teacher had said no, like, what could have, and look what snowballed from it. And I think, yeah, it's just so important that young people are just given that from such an early age as well to be able to kind of develop those
Hmm.
skills as well. It's just so important. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and you probably wouldn't have thought you've been on a podcast however many years later and done such amazing stuff. So I think it
No,
has
no,
that snowball, doesn't it? And
God.
then like when you look back, you're like, oh wow, I really started that quite early, but I didn't
Yeah,
realize, and it's brought
yeah,
me
yeah.
through to adulthood.
So obviously I work with young people in a youth setting, so it's very much traditional youth clubs at the minute. And the big thing we've got some year 11s who are like, I don't know what to do when I want to leave school. And my big thing was like, so there's times where I've had to take a step back because I was quite like determined, and I was like, once I got something in my head, I wanted to do it, and I was going to do
Yeah.
it. But it stemmed from that opportunity that I got. Um, and now I'm working with young people, and I'm like, oh, where's your passion? Because I think that's what I always say is where's your passion? That's where I found my passion was sport. Even now, coaching boxing 3 nights a week, um, delivering youth sessions, and traditionally I do the sporty side of things in the youth sessions. So I'm involved with sport kind of probably 6 days a week. I'm involved in some aspect of sport, if that be coaching or I do a little bit of playing, but not massively. And then I'm currently at university as well, doing sports with I kind of started uni. I'm like, I want to be a PE teacher. I've now stepped away from that dream, but I still want to be involved in sport. I don't want to
Yeah.
be stuck in one school teaching sport. I want to kind of broaden and give as many opportunities to as many people as possible because I think I like think back and like that opportunity that I got when I was 10 is snowballed into where I am today. And I think that's the big thing that people miss, especially when working with young people. If they don't get the opportunity, don't complain when they're unsure about what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's so much like pressure to a specific path or a specific career. And like if you're not doing what you love, then you can just, well, obviously burn out, but you just have to find something that you
Yeah,
makes you wake up and feel like, right, okay, I'm doing this because I love it and I care about it and it's making an impact, not even just to other people, but to me as well. And
yeah,
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 it's just
definitely.
so important. So, so important.
It's definitely, yeah, yeah.
So, kind of segueing to a bit of a different question, what do you think some of the main barriers are for young people getting involved in sport? But I th also think staying involved as well can be really, really hard for a lot of people. So, what do you think some of those barriers are?
I think it's gotten better, but I think definitely when I was in secondary school, I've used it loads, but opportunity is a big one for me. Like, if you aren't giving people an opportunity, well, then what's the point? Like, I give you an example in boxing at the minute. We've got a crop of older young people who are leaving school. Some will stay on and box, but boxing is very much like once you hit 16, it's quite hard to stay involved because you've got to then look at priorities of kind of family, work. You get to that age where other things come up. I've got a big passion at the minute is how can I keep them involved in some respect because You never want to see them leave. And if they step back and say, I don't want to box anymore, but how can I keep them involved in boxing? I'm kind of in the works of running a 5 to 8 year old class, which I'm dreading, absolutely dreading. But
Yeah, it's definitely an
with the
interesting age
dream,
group.
I don't know why I've agreed to it, but with the dream of using them older crop to run the session for me. So I'll be there as a bit of a mentor as such and get them to be leading, running, and kind of supporting them kind of through. Um, I think opportunity is a big one. I think we could sit here all day, and I think we could use. And I'm just going to mention it once. We
Mhm.
could use the money and
Yeah,
finance, like anyone who works in the youth space knows, the big F bomb is funding, and it is that
true.
financial state that young people need like comfortability in. Um, Things are getting so much more expensive, so people are having to charge so much more. So, like, I'm from a particularly kind of low deprived area where I work and where I live, and the young people I work with, young people I see, don't have the luxuries of going out and spending all this money to take part in sport. Some of them just scrape by playing football, and that is training once a week and playing a match once a week, which is a luxury to some young people. Um, so, for example, if I go back to this boxing class, I've got the aspirations of not charging and using the connections I've got to hopefully just allow young people to turn up, attend, parents not have that worry, yeah, and have that kind of open access so they can come in and there's no barriers to them participating. Because I think, let's see, I don't want to go on and on about it, but money is a big one, especially
Mhm.
nowadays for young people. Um, and I think, I don't know, I think stereotyping is a massive one. And I think they if I had to pick three barriers that I think it was opportunities, financial, and I think stereotyping's a big one. It's like if you're a lad, you play football, but it's not like that. If you're a girl, you do dancing on netball, but it shouldn't be like that. But unfortunately, people stereotype that kind of norm so much that these young people who just want to enjoy playing sports feel worried about doing that because it's like, oh, I can't do that because
Yeah.
I've been told I'm not allowed, and I think it's like it's gotten better, don't get us wrong, it definitely has gotten better, but I think there's still some stigma and some stereotyping that goes on and around sport. I think a big one, especially that I've been kind of advocating in my youth settings, because I know it was off the back of the World Cup stuff, is like girls playing football. Like it's such a football's such a like every sport's universal, but people don't get the opportunity to feel that it's universal. Um, we can play a game of dodgeball and everyone can play it, but as soon as we go play football, people are like, oh, why is she playing? But
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like that. So I think if there was three barriers that I could think that I think they would be them three.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Those are definitely three big ones, and I think a lot of them, like they quite interlink as well. I think especially for that stereotype piece, even limited clubs for girls in football, for example, there's not that opportunity there for them.
I think in schools they shouldn't deliver them traditional
Yeah,
football. I don't think it should be allowed because the only thing you're teaching is boys go out and play football and girls will stay inside and play netball. And what's that teaching? What's that doing for young people and what's that doing for society that they're growing up in? So I think they should move away from teaching them traditional sports that people name. Do still deliver them, but can we put them on as extracurricular activities
yeah,
and then people have got a little bit more free roam of like, right, if I'm really interested, I'll go along,
yeah,
but less of like because you know yourself, I've done it loads in school when your teacher said what you're doing, you always looked and went, "Oh, this again."
yeah,
But it's because you don't feel comfortable doing it. But if it's a sport that dodgeball, or if it's like cricket or something that's just universal, that people see as universal, even though every sport should be universal, I think there'd be more kind of involvement in sport. I believe, anyways. But yeah,
yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think when there's opportunities, like from an early age as well, like we've been saying, you need to be able to kind of find your sport and find that kind of piece of your identity early on so that you can reduce the stereotypes and maybe you could be that person who creates those opportunities if they aren't there already. And I think that takes a lot of strength to do that. Yeah, definitely there needs to be kind of more opportunities out there and more opportunities for young people to kind of do that.
I just don't think it's like the diversity within what gets taught in PE, especially. I think back to PE because I think that's where you get the maximum reach and you get so many hours a week of like you are playing sport. So how can we make it diverse? Like my old secondary school, they've introduced darts, and people think, oh, darts, what they play darts for? It's not a sport, but it is though.
Yeah,
It 100% is a sport. Like they are getting young people to play darts, and even if they don't go on and be professional darts players, they've still experienced
yeah,
darts. Some of them might go on and go, I really love that. I want to do that. But
yeah, exactly.
majority of young people don't have that chance because it's like I'll just take it, go down to the pub with my dad and I'll throw some darts.
Y- Yeah, no, that is such a good example. You're right. There's literally the stereotypical options always in PE, hockey, netball. It's just the same things every week, and I think giving people more opportunities is like so important to try different things. We did like Zumba at one time in PE, and like it was quite random,
Hmm.
but it was something
And
just
do you know, like, so I'd done that. It's funny you've mentioned it because that happened to me in primary school. Like, they put Just Dance on the screen, and as a class, we done Just Dance, and like, you had a few of the lads that were like, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not dancing." But then by the end of it, everyone was dancing
yeah,
because it's such a like a universe, like people just getting up and dancing. It's
yeah, and it's just
yeah.
a bit of fun as well. Like you can just kind of try stuff and just laugh about it, or you really enjoy it as well. Like,
Well, that's the other thing. You might really enjoy it,
yeah.
and you've had the opportunity to find the sport you love, and then it's just what other opportunities is that outside of that school setting that can help you continue to do that sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my last question is, and this is quite a big one, what advice would you have for any young person who wants to get involved in sport but who might not have the confidence?
Well, that is a deep one.
Yeah, it's a big
So
one.
say yes to everything. So I learned this, and I learned this not even just in sport, but I learned this just in life.
Yeah.
Like I used to sit and think, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done that. I got the opportunity, and then there was some times where I used to say no, and then I used to walk away and go, why have I done that? Because
Mm.
I would go home and I would like dream about doing stuff like that, and I'm like, just say yes.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't have the confidence in the beginning, just say yes, turn up, and I guarantee
Yeah.
that you find friendships, which I think is a big one that sport does for everyone. And I think even if you don't enjoy sport, and I say this all the time, like even if you don't enjoy sport, you'll still build friendships because there'll be someone else in there who doesn't enjoy sport,
Yeah.
but you'll find something you both enjoy together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like I've met some of my like greatest friends within the sports setting, and I've met them through various kind of paths, but it has all evolved around sport, and that is because I took that jump and I said yes. I think confidence. This is a funny one about confidence because I think confidence is what you make it.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got a level of confidence in them, but how much are you willing to push the confidence? Like, how much are you willing to push the norm? Like coming on here today, I've done all these kind of talks and events and blah, blah, blah. I was still slightly nervous about coming on just because of that kind of what's going to happen,
Yeah.
but just say yes and do it. And you find that things aren't as bad as you talk yourself out of. So I think that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you can really overanalyze things quite a lot as well. And then once you take that first, it's taking saying yes and taking that first step as well. It's like once you've done it, you're
Hmm.
like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do it
Hmm.
again. Maybe it's not as bad as it might seem as well. Um, and yeah, like you said, like
And I
being
think
able to meet other people as well is
like
super too.
relationships in sport is massive. Like
Yeah,
even if you go and take part in an individual sport, it's the relationships you build with people that are consistently in that sport with you. Like we've got all these boxers, and yes, it's an individual sport, but it's still a team environment, and it's them relationships that you build with each other. And I think the minute you say yes, and the minute even if you walk in and you're a little bit nervous and you stand at the back,
yeah,
but you still took the first step and you've walked in the door, and that's
yeah,
sometimes, like you say, that's probably the hardest thing to do. Yes, saying yes is probably easier than just walking in the door
yeah.
because it is walking up to people that you've not necessarily met before. But I think say yes and just take the first step, and then even if you come out and go, it's not for me, then at least you've kind of broken that confidence barrier down.
Yeah, definitely. You've tried it and you might find something that's for you and it'll maybe give you that encouragement to do something else. You know, like, okay, I've done it, can do something else, or go to a new club or try something else. And I've talked a bit, you know, I've stepped out of my comfort zone a bit. I think, yeah, definitely so hard, but you never know where you could go from that. Well, thank you so much. I
No,
really
no,
enjoyed
thank
that. It was
you.
really good.
No, thank you very much. I did enjoy it. Yeah, it was really good.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne, and be sure to check out all the other amazing podcasts on Be the Change Media Network.